Hey guys, Jody Myers here. Thanks so much for coming back today. Today is day 3, and the title of today's chat is "Bloom Where You Are Planted." So anyway, today's talk is we're going to be talking about the topic today is discontentment and what it is and where it comes from and what we can do to just start putting an end to its reign in our lives, in our hearts, and our thoughts. Okay, so discontentment is a spirit, and it grows out of a desire. For us to take care of an unmet need or a void, okay, somewhere in our lives. So we feed that spirit by striving to fill that void or that unmet need on our own. When we choose to become content, when we choose to learn to become content, when we shift our focus from what we lack to the blessings that we've been given to enjoy, we actually shut the door to discontentment. We shut the door on that spirit. We literally starve it. And then its hold, as we starve it out of our lives, its hold becomes weaker and weaker and eventually powerless in our lives. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Alrighty. Bloom where you're planted. So this is what David did. He spent years in the lonely shepherd's fields taking care of his father's sheep. What's interesting is that he'd already been chosen to be the next king of Israel. So, the prophet Samuel had already anointed him. David could have thought, God, this isn't right. I've got big dreams. You've promised me great things. What am I doing stuck out here with a bunch of sheep? But David understood this principle. He didn't live stressed or frustrated. He bloomed where he was planted. He knew that God was in control, so he just kept being his best, going to work with a good attitude, grateful for where he was and what he had. Because he was content in the shepherd's field, he made it to the throne, to the palace. Because he was content in the shepherd's field, he made it to the throne, to the palace. He passed that test. But if you're not content in the season you're in, while you're waiting for things to change, then even if you do somehow make it to the throne, so to speak, and your dreams do come to pass, you're still not going to be satisfied. You might be happy for a little while, but here's the problem. Discontentment will follow you wherever you go. If God blesses us with a promotion, then we're happy for a little while, but then discontentment comes in. We don't want to work so hard, or we don't want the responsibility. But it's not our circumstances. It's the spirit of discontentment, seeing the wrong, complaining about what we don't like, never having enough. That's why Paul said, I've learned to be content. You have to train your mind to see the good, to be grateful for what little you have. Life will go so much better if you will become content in each season. Content when you have a lot, content when you don't have a lot. Content whether your children are in diapers or whether they're in college. Content whether you're in maintenance or management. You need to have the grace you need to enjoy each season. If your dreams aren't coming to pass, that's a test. Will you do as David did and bloom where you're planted? Will you choose to enjoy that season and not just endure it? God, when is this ever going to change? I've been praying for 2 years. Maybe I've actually done exactly that so many times. Maybe your situation is going to change when you change. You have to be satisfied with where God has you right now before you get to move on to the next place. You've got to pass the test. So it doesn't mean you settle there and you don't expect anything better. It doesn't mean you always live frustrated, always wanting something, or it means you don't live frustrated, always wanting something more. I need more money, then I'll be happy. I need a better job, then I'll be happy. I need a bigger house, then I'll be happy. I need to lose 20 pounds. I need my kids to get better grades, then I'll enjoy life. If you get all that corrected and you accomplish your wish list, something else will come to make you discontented. You have to put your foot down and say, that's it. Everything may not be perfect in my life. All my dreams may not have come to pass yet. None of my dreams have come to pass yet. But I'm not living frustrated and stressed out. I'm going to bloom right where I'm planted. In other words, I'm content whether I'm driving a 20-year-old Volkswagen or a brand new Mercedes-Benz. I'm content whether I'm living in a small apartment or a beautiful dream house. I'm content whether my business is booming or whether it's a little slow. Alrighty. So let me just review like three highlights, quick highlights here. One, contentment is a test. You've got to pass it. So critical. I think if you've been waffling around a little while, at least for me, once I've been waffling around a little while and I realize, oh, this is a test, it just gets so much easier because then I can focus on the things that I need to do to move on. But when you're waffling around, just kind of wondering what's happening, focusing on the issue, on the problem, then it's so hard to see that it's actually just a test, and it's so hard to move on from there. Number two, discontentment is a spirit. It will follow you wherever you go. You feed it by what you focus on. And number three, your situation is most likely going to change when you do. So here's my little personal story or a recent story with discontentment, and it was actually when we were moving in the process of moving into this house. And honestly, we've been blessed in recent years with just living in amazing rental houses. We didn't know where we wanted to go. We weren't ready to buy. It just never seemed like the right thing to do until literally just recently. And the last house we moved into, we'd only been there for a year. And it was such a tremendous blessing. It was a huge step up from where we'd been living before, but we loved that place too. That was a 1700s farmhouse with all the old stone and the super deep windowsills and beautiful woodwork and like the original old plank floors. I mean, we loved it. I don't know if other people thought that much of it. All this property, the most beautiful view in the world, and we loved that place. But then God upgraded us when we were taking care of my brother Tim into this beautiful 6-bedroom, like 1940s style house, brick and with the big staircase, and it had been from top to bottom and the entire outside. Everything had been like beautifully redone. The man who bought it was he was a mason, and so everything was tiled, and it was gorgeous. Chef's kitchen, and my bathroom was like the size of my current bedroom. I swear, well, maybe not quite that big, really, really close. With the spa tub, and it was all just done first class. And then we bought this place, and I love this house, and I mean we fell in love with it. That's why we bought it. But we knew like it needed a lot of work, and the one thing that this house doesn't have that like those other houses had is it doesn't have a ton of its own natural character. It has this huge wooded yard. I don't know if you can see. Huge wooded yard, kinda. It's got a fish pond back there, and like it's such a cool piece of property. It's 5 bedrooms, and downstairs has so much open space for entertaining. It just hasn't been updated in a really long time. So there were some things that we knew we were going to have to do, upon moving in. But there are a lot more things that like really need done. And I think one of the things that's the hardest is I've been living in these places with these gorgeous, I'm not sure if you can see this, with gorgeous windowsills that are like this deep, like windowsills that you can sit in. They were so awesome. And like, let's see if I can move this forward a little. This, not so much. These are like this, and so I started seeing and noticing like all the things, instead of seeing all the blessings, like some of the things that I was just sharing with you, instead of seeing all the blessings and the potential and realizing like, hey, it's okay if this is going to take some time to put this place together. Like that's actually really normal, and that's what people do. I was just like, oh my gosh, we need to do this and this, and all I could see was what was wrong with the place. All I could see was like, oh, the baseboard heating, or which a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, I love that because it's so cozy. But instead of looking at the blessings in the house, I was focusing on every single thing that was wrong with it. And I wasn't even being grateful for the fact that I was able to do so much, that I was able to just like go to the store and buy paint and order some things from Wayfair to decorate the house with. And and we, like I said, we haven't done everything or by any means. But, we've changed like half of the lighting already to like beautiful things that God has blessed us with. And so I had to get a hold of myself after about a month in, because I was just getting so stressed, and I just really realized like, wow, I've completely lost my heart of gratitude about this whole situation. And I'd lost a lot of sleep. And not only that, but like physically, like I was like working myself into the ground with everything that I was trying to get done. And I don't know what marathon race I was trying to run or what this like deadline I had in my head was. But the fact of the matter is, it's going to get done when it gets done, and it doesn't matter. We've been blessed with an amazing home, and like this is really our home. It's the first house we ever owned, and it's so exciting. And so I just really had to get hold of that and like flip that around and just be like, whew. But what I had to do was starve out discontentment. And so here are a few things that I did in the process of this. Trying to make everything happen in my own power. I just left a few things here that I did as number one. Every time you go to complain, I was being such a complainer. Every time you go to complain or you start getting that frantic feeling that you've got to make things happen or that you're getting left behind, say 5 things, no matter where you are, say 5 things that you're grateful for out loud, like right then. Just say some things that you're grateful for, because it immediately, that discontented spirit immediately starts losing its power right then and there. It's amazing. Like you start getting your perspective back and you can shift your focus. Then be sure to tell at least one person each day something that you are grateful for or love about them, so that you're passing that gratitude on. Number 2, make a list of the top things that you're frustrated with right now. What are those things that are just like making you crazy? Go ahead and just like write them down. Where is it that you feel stuck? Okay? So that you can see what is it you're focusing on right now that's causing you so much frustration. So many times, if you can just get it out of your head and onto a piece of paper, it makes so much difference. Because if you get it out of your head and you put it there, then you can get your mind back on the things that matter, and you can take care of these as best you can in due time. Or sometimes, there's just nothing that you can even do about it, and so, but at least it's out of your head and on paper. And I don't know what that process is, what it is about that. And I've never researched that, but for some reason, when you get it onto paper, all of a sudden you can get so much more perspective. It's not swimming around up here anymore. So there's actually room for the thoughts that should be here, and so that helping you move on. And then number 3, your situation will change when you change. What are 3 things that you can do on a daily basis to facilitate inner change that will ultimately spill over into your outer life? Like commit to spending daily time in the Word, or commit to not complaining, committing to read a positive mental attitude book, or listening to a faith-building podcast every single day, committing to daily exercise, committing to turning off Netflix and reading instead, okay? Maybe going to bed earlier and waking up earlier to spend time with God, maybe cultivating gratitude. So there's any number of things, but your job is just to come up with what are 3 things that you can do on a daily basis to facilitate change. 3 things that you can do on a daily basis to grow, basically. So anyway, with that, these action steps again are the 3 things I want you to take away from today. Is 1, contentment is a test. You got to pass it. Discontentment is a spirit. It'll follow you wherever you go. And number 3, your situation is most likely to change when you do. And I believe that we can conquer some of this by talking about the things that we're grateful for out loud and sharing that with somebody else. Getting these frustrating situations, is getting them out of your head so they stop spinning and growing, and get them onto paper. And then number 3, remembering that your situation will change when you change. And what are 3 things that you can do each day to start facilitating that inner change? So thanks so much for tuning in today, guys. If this message helped you out in any way, please feel free to share it and follow me on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. And this is Jody Myers, helping you get unstuck and back on the path to your dreams.